Good evening, everyone. My name is Leila Logizeko. I'm the district leader in Chelsea, representing Chelsea Reform Democratic Club. I am joined by my colleague Dan Soso, who's the treasurer, member of the executive. A number of members of the executive committee are also with us, recognizing Joanne Sinovoy, Len Paletta, Carol Ott, Roberta Gelb, Bert Lazarin, as well as Lydia Andre. We are here for a special session, actually dedicated entirely to NYCHA and to the proposal that has been introduced jointly by NYCHA and HPD to do some changes to the campuses. And sorry for this euphemism, but it's depending on who you read, what you read, or who you listen to. Those changes could be as thoughtful as a full rehabilitation, or as extensive as full demolition, reconstruction, upzoning, and mayoral overrides. So we wanted to take the opportunity of this meeting to actually brief folks, tenants, as well as the community at large, on what exactly is happening. So I have a presentation that I'm going to go through, but a few words about how the meeting is going to run tonight. As I said, I'm going to give this presentation. It's fairly long, so bear with me. It's technical, it's dense, it's you may get a headache, but it is so important that please stay engaged. Once the presentation concludes, we will open up to questions. Because we have a large turnout both in the room and on Zoom, we will limit the questions to real questions, no statements. There will be opportunities for that, and it's coming up, and I'll touch on that. So tonight, it will be really about, asking questions, clarifications. Any questions that we can answer, we will. Any questions that we don't have the answer to, we will take note of it, and we will put together an email that we will send subsequently with hopefully with the answers to these questions. So I want to recognize Renee Kitt, who just joined us, member of CRDC Executive Committee, as well as president of the Tenants Association for Elliott and Chelsea houses. Okay, so I am going to share my screen, and we are going to go through this presentation. All right, can you see my screen? Okay.
I believe it is.
It is recording. Thank you, David. Oh, and I want to recognize my wonderful co-leader, David Warren. Things would not happen without him, trust me. Okay, so we are here to talk about the redevelopment of the NYCHA campuses at Fulton and Elliott-Chelsea. What exactly is being proposed and what impact it will have on our community. So today we're going to break down the draft environmental impact statement. This is a document that was released by NYCHA and HPD, spearheaded by HUD, the federal agency, for the proposed redevelopment of Fulton and Elliott-Chelsea houses. And our goal is to explain what is in the draft environmental impact statement, the DEIS, what it says, what the various alternatives that are explored and analyzed in this document, what are those, and where we are in the process. So what is the DEIS? The DEIS, the Draft Environmental Impact Statement, is a legally required document that evaluates how a proposed project might affect the environment and a community. It covers, among other things, traffic, air quality, noise, sewer, open space, and much, much more. The DEIS for this particular project was released on March 24, 2025, and it is pursuant to federal statute. The statute that is being used is NEPA, and it is pursuant to Section 18 of the Housing Code of 1937. And it must answer the question, is it okay to demolish public housing and to dispose of the land for potentially another use? So this is what is in front of us, and this is where we are in the process. The DEIS has been released, but the project is not a done deal. We hear that a lot. It's a done deal. It's a done deal. It is not a done deal. We are actually at the fairly early stage of this process. So we are in public review, and this is your time to weigh in. Okay, there's going to be a number of public hearings that are coming up. And this will be the opportunity to actually provide input. And in a perfect world, the agencies that spearhead these projects actually seek public input, and they will incorporate those public inputs. Once again, this is in a perfect world, and we know that the world is far from perfect, but these are the rules of this process. So as I said, we have 2 public hearings coming up. The first one will be April 23rd, which is a Wednesday at 6 p.m. at Fulton Community Center on 9th Avenue between 17th and 18th Streets. And then the second one will be on April 24th, which is a Thursday at 6:30 at Elliott-Chelsea in this very room at Hudson Guild on the 2nd floor. Okay, so very, very important. I urge everyone to attend and speak at these 2 sessions. Don't be shy, come twice. You'll have twice as much fun. It is incredibly critical that our voices are heard. And I see Lydia.
Say, come early. We're going to have signs. We're going to be outside of Fulton on the 23rd.
Yes, yes, there will be, so, as let's focus on this. There will be additional bits and pieces, but indeed there will be a press conference prior to the public hearing on April 23rd. If you see that you're a little bit late, that's okay. This is going to be a doozy. It's going to be a long session. So if you can only hit it at 7 p.m., come. Even at 8, come. Even at 9, just show up. Just show up. This is just, I cannot emphasize enough how important it is that this entire community shows up and speaks at these hearings. So once this process of public hearings and public engagement concludes, NYCHA and HPD will issue the final environmental impact statement. Once again, right now we're looking at the draft. This is not the final. So once again, it is not a done deal. So the final EIS will follow, and it must respond to public input. Okay, so this is only one part of the process. As I said, once this process concludes, there are still numerous other permits and authorizations from HUD, from NYCHA, and from others, financing partners included, that need to be secured before the project can happen. So this is the list, and it is not exhaustive, but this is the list of all the other permits and authorizations that need to be secured before this project can move forward. NEPA final environmental impact statement, HUD record of decision, HUD special application senders demolition application, HUD field office for the tenant protection voucher application. At the state level, I'm not going to read it. This whole deck will be available on CRDC website, but as you can see, there are many additional hurdles that need to be cleared before this project can move forward. So it is not a done deal. So what is the project about? So the project is proposing, and the developer, Related Properties, in joint venture with Essence, as well as NYCHA, they are proposing to demolish the existing 22 buildings, meaning all the buildings on both campuses, and instead they want to build high-rise mixed-income developments. The public housing replacements would be contained in 6 buildings. Okay, so they would take all those units that are currently spread out through 22 buildings, and they would consolidate them in 6 buildings, 3 on each campus. And then they would build an additional 8 buildings, and they would be market rate, meaning luxury, and affordable housing, which is 80%, 60 to 80% of the median income. There would also be retail and open space. So to situate ourselves a little bit, I think we're very familiar with what we're talking about, but a little project site map. So hopefully you can see my cursor. In red, this is Fulton. In purple and blue, this is Elliott and Chelsea. Little close up, it's bounded by 16th Street to the south, 20th Street to the north, 9th Avenue to the east, that's for Fulton, and Elliott-Chelsea are bounded by 25th Street to the south, 28th Street, because 27th Street does not exist on that particular block. So 28th Street and 10th Avenue to the west. Fulton is comprised of 944 apartments, was constructed in 1965. It's 11 residential buildings. And Elliott-Chelsea is larger, 1,112 apartments. It was constructed between 1947 and 1968. It is 7 residential buildings, Hudson Guild, which is our host tonight, and some parking spaces. So NYCHA and the developer prefer the zoning and the upzoning, rezoning, and demolition alternative. This is not the only alternative that exists. There are other alternatives, but they have made it very clear that this is the preferred scenario that they want to pursue. And that would entail, as I said, demolishing all the buildings, so a total of 2,056 units of public housing. And they would build 6 replacement buildings that would house all these tenants, or at least, that's the theory. And then they would add 3,454 new units. 70% would be luxury and 30% would be affordable. And they would rezone, which means that they would change the existing zoning to allow for larger, taller, bigger, and bulkier buildings to be built. So it would be taller and more density that would be permitted. So a total of 15 buildings, 8 buildings at Fulton, 7 buildings at Elliott-Chelsea. All the NYCHA units would be concentrated in 6 buildings, so 3 on each campus. They would rebuild the same number of NYCHA units in those 6 towers, but those units would not necessarily be the same size, and they would not necessarily be the same bedroom count. So right now, we know that in Fulton, for example, there's a large number of 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom apartments. Those units would be replaced, but they would no longer be that size. They may be studios or 1-bedroom apartments. Mm-hmm. The tallest buildings on both campuses would be 39 stories. And at Fulton, it would be a smidge shy of 400 feet. And at Elliott-Chelsea, it would be 429.5 feet tall. So as I said, there would be 3,554 new units, which amounts, when you do the math, like the statistical math that counts that there is 2.3 people living in a unit in New York City. When you do the math, you would get approximately 8,000 more people moving in. So that's in addition to the 5,000 tenants who live in public housing who would be relocated in these 6 buildings. So it would add another 6,000 people who would be moving in. So a little bit of, what these buildings would look like. We've had some renderings that were shared by NYCHA. So this is, you can see here, this is what Fulton would look like, and this is what Elliott-Chelsea would look like. A little close up, so you can see, very different from the existing context. For comparison, the adjacent buildings are between 12 and 15 stories. So, the proposed buildings would be, pretty much twice as tall as the existing context. This is for Elliott-Chelsea. Similarly, you can see, the 22-story building on the right side of the screen, and by comparison, the 32 to 38, and we now know that actually they're going to be 39 stories, for a little bit of a scale. An interesting rendering of the massing that is part of this this document that was released. So this is the existing, and this is what would be proposed. So let me toggle. So, a vast increase in height and density. So, so I need to also explain that, all of the information that I'm about to, that I have started and I continue to share with you is contained in this document, the draft environmental impact statement. It is over 1,000 pages. It gave me a little bit of a headache for the past week because I've tried to read cover to cover everything that is in it, including the appendix about the monarch butterfly. That is an endangered species that may be impacted by this project. But basically, if you want any more detail, any more information, or the backing for all the information that I'm about to give you, this is where all the facts are contained. So it's not like, I pulled them out of my head. They do exist, in writing. And once again, we'll make sure that you have the link. If you're interested, you can go and refer to the document. So as I said, the impacts of this massive project are multiple, and they include shadows, impact to the sewer system, noise, traffic, open space, construction, neighborhood character, pollutants, and displacement. So we're going to go through most of those one by one, and so that you get a sense of the impact that this project is going to have. So as you saw, the towers are going to be pretty tall and bulky. So it will have the shadows that these buildings are going to cast are going to have a direct impact on the surroundings. So you can see the shadow rendering here. You can see that the shadows would hit all the way to the Hudson River, would hit on the High Line, which is this green line that you see here. This is the High Line, would be pretty majorly impacted, as well as Penn South. You can see that the shadows would cover a good chunk of Penn South, including the open space, as well as the ball field that is directly to the south, to the north of Elliott-Chelsea, as well as PS 33, which is the elementary school that is adjacent to the campus that sits on alongside 9th Avenue. You can also see that the shadow would have a direct impact on the private school that is to the west of Elliott-Chelsea Avenues, the World School. So this is the shadow drawing taken at different times, because obviously, sun does not travel, but the earth travels, and therefore the shadow of a building moves on the earth as the earth moves. The earth not only rotates, along an axis, but it also goes around the sun, and therefore in winter the shadows are much longer, than in summer where, you know, because of the inclination. I'm sure you remembered your ninth grader astronomy classes, but, you know, basically the big issue is really, I mean, the issue of a shadow is always an issue, but it's specifically problematic in winter. So what this document tells us is that the shadows will impact the High Line, Chelsea Park, PS 33 Playground, and 18th Street Plaza, which you probably don't know about, but 18th Street Plaza is actually a plaza that is being constructed. And right now it would enjoy sunlight, but once this project goes up, it will no longer, it will be entirely obliterated and will be in the shade. So for the High Line, the shadow coverage coming from both Fulton and Elliott-Chelsea will be significant, primarily occur in the morning hours, lasting up to 3 hours and 47 minutes, depending on the season, and the affected areas go from West 15th Street to West 28th Street, and they would include vegetation, walking path, and seating area. And you're probably familiar with the area where you can sit, that has the, you know, the nice open view. So that would be in the shadows. Chelsea Park, which is right to the north of us, the incremental shadows would linger over 6 to 7 hours, which basically means the entire day. PS 33 Playground, a very, very sensitive area because, you know, obviously children need to go and play. And it's also important to understand that children don't get to choose when they hit the playground. So if the playground is in the shadow of the building at that particular time that it is recessed, then it's tough luck. There would be no sun. Something also important to understand, so the difference in winter, the difference between being in the shade and being in the sunlight in terms of temperature is 20 degrees. Okay, so it's the difference between being able to be outside or not being able to be outside in winter. So the playground for PS 33 would be in the shadows, incremental shadows that would last between 3 and 6 hours, depending on the season. And then 18th Street Plaza, this new area that is currently being built, the incremental shadow would last up to 2 hours and 13 minutes, depending on the season. Okay, now sewer. All right, I know it's gross, but sewer is super, super important because when all of a sudden you bring so many new residents to an area, you know, all those toilets that flush, all of this needs to go somewhere. So what is the issue? It is kind of like very simple and very gross, and I'm sorry, and I apologize for that in advance. So currently, you can see on this little chart, so in light blue, this is the current sanitary flow, stormwater flow, and then the total combined flow. So the sanitary flow, like it's a really dry day, everything is going well, people go to the bathroom and they flush and everything goes where it's supposed to go, and, you know, to a sewer containment area, and then it gets retreated and it's, you know, cleaned up and whatever that needs to happen. That's on the good days. These tank systems are actually getting close to capacity, and they have to accommodate the growth for the entire west side, meaning that we also know that Hudson Yards is going up, and there's going to be lots of people, whether there's a casino or no casino, residential or commercial, all these people are going to need to use the bathroom. So the tank itself is very, very close to capacity. The piping for the sewer is super old and has not been upgraded and is doing its job mostly, but it's really not optimal. But then what happens when it rains is where it becomes a disaster. When it rains and there is a 1/4 inch water on the road, which is pretty much anytime we have, a decent amount of rain. I'm not even talking about, those really epic episodes, just, a good, April shower. What happens? The sewer overflows, okay? And it goes directly in the Hudson River. So it rains, you poop, you're pooping in the Hudson River. That is what happens. So you have the surge of crude sewage, and stormwater flow that goes directly into the Hudson River. The Hudson River is a protected estuarine sanctuary. So it took a long time to clean it up. There's a lot of protected species that live in the river. There's oysters that are very important, that actually help cleaning the water, and all of it. And you have a lot of recreational activity in the Hudson River. You have kayaking, and there's a beach. So all of these are, critical, and, rely to be able to operate on the water being clean. So you can see on this chart that the increase in stormwater and combined flow is double. And so the document tells us that, I'm reading, from the document, the redevelopment at Fulton and Elliott-Chelsea would more than double the sewage and rainfall run water going into the city's combined sewer system. When it rains hard, that system overflows, meaning untreated sewage and stormwater spills straight into the Hudson River. The risk of pollution to the river will significantly increase. All right, and this is not from the document. This is something that actually an expert in this issue flagged for us. So that's for the sewer. And once again, this only looks at the impact of this project, meaning that it is not the cumulative effect with Hudson Yards and other developments along the west side. All right, moving on to noise. The effect of project-generated noise on 3 area schools, Avenues, the World School, PS 33, Chelsea Prep, and the James Baldwin School, are addressed above in the noise analysis. And I am actually reading from the document here. As detailed therein, the rezoning alternative would result in a significant adverse noise impact at the following locations: the eastern facade of Avenues, the World School, the northern and western facades of PS 33, and at the western courtyard facades and westernmost window column on the southern facade of the James Baldwin School. So basically, during the construction, the noise is going to be so intense that it will exceed what is permitted, even after it has been mitigated, meaning that not only you can't open the windows, but even with the mitigation that they can put on the windows and to abate the noise, it will still be in excess, and that they cannot mitigate more than what they're already planning to mitigate. So on this map, which hopefully you can see, in blue, this is the area where the noise is going to be higher, once again, after it's been mitigated, than what is permitted. So you can see that, it is pretty extensive, and it actually flows over to the east side of 9th Avenue. So, those buildings on 16, 17, 18, and 19th Street will be impacted, as well as, of course, the buildings and the residents who live on the blocks where the construction is happening between 9th and 10th Avenue. And then, okay, why is this not working anymore? Hold on. Where it will exceed the noise levels after mitigation. Okay, So even with the noise reduction measures described in the DEIS, interior noise levels during construction would still exceed the acceptable threshold for residential or community facility uses. Once again, keep in mind that the maps that are shown here, and okay, hold on. This is the map for Elliott-Chelsea. So you can see that like the London Terrace would be impacted. The buildings that are between 24th and 25th would be impacted. Obviously the buildings that are along 9th Avenue, including PS 33, which is a school, as well as Avenues, the World School on 10th Avenue. It's interesting that they make no mention of the daycare. There's a daycare on the corner of, is it 26? It's 26th Street, Renee, right? Yeah. So 26th Street, it's pretty clear that, the construction will be going on there. And until this building would be demolished, the sound level would be incredibly high. And, construction noise includes the excavation, the blast, the drilling, but also all the vehicular traffic that is generated by the construction. Okay, so moving on to traffic. So the impact will basically increase vehicular traffic and increase pedestrian traffic. So the rezoning alternative would result in significant adverse impacts to vehicular traffic at 11 intersections and pedestrian conditions at 6 sidewalks and 2 crosswalks. Interestingly, I could not find the map where these are represented. So I'm going to continue looking for them, and I will make sure that we share that information. So the big picture is that by 2041, which is the date by which they estimate that this project would be concluded, if the rezoning alternative goes forward, the area will add thousands of new units of housing, retail, daycare, community facilities, which means more people, more cars, more strain, and on already busy streets and sidewalks. So major traffic delays at 11 intersections and pedestrian congestion at 6 crosswalks and 6 sidewalks and 2 crosswalks. Congestion. So the non-rezoning would also bring a lot of congestion. So mitigations are proposed, but no impact can be fixed, especially sidewalks and crosswalks during rush hour. So they tell us already that, they will try, but they cannot actually mitigate this congestion. The sidewalks will be more crowded, particularly near schools and transit hubs. Some areas will be unsafe pedestrian crowding. The level of service is rated as D, which is a really bad grade. Additional studies are still needed to figure out how bad it will be and whether it can be fixed. But right now they're telling us that, it will likely not be mitigated because they just can't. The subway and bus usage will rise, especially at peak hours. The parking situation will also deteriorate. The demand for parking will go up, but in that particular zone, there's no consideration for additional parking. Even after trying mitigation strategies, some traffic and sidewalk issues will remain unresolved, and they're listed as unavoidable adverse impact in the document. Okay, open space. There will be less open space. And the reason is that the amount of open space per person will significantly go down. What is happening is that they're building more buildings and they're bringing more people. And therefore, the ratio between the amount of space and the number of people will actually go the wrong way. So the city goal is 2.5 acres per 1,000 people, okay? Currently, in our community, we are at 0.683, and it will go down to 0.647, okay? So we're already bad, and it is going to become worse. Both active, like sports and recreation, and passive, like sitting and walking, open space, will shrink per person. And the bottom line is that there will be less room to breathe, play, and relax in a neighborhood that is already falling short on open space. There are 370 mature trees spread through those two campuses. They will all be cut down. 370 trees, all cut down. All right, construction. At least 16 years. It is projected to be completed in 2041, and this is the best case scenario. The construction will last actually between 15 and 30 years. The demolition, soil remediation, contaminant mitigation, including asbestos, excavation will be phased. And if construction starts in 2025, the completion will be 2041, with peak activity between 2026 and 2032. The excavation, there are pollutants in the soil, and some of these pollutants exceed what is considered acceptable, and they include cadmium, barium, lead, mercury, and carbohydrates. There were gas stations on these blocks, and there were parking garages that had like gas tanks buried. All of this needs to come out. And all of those that I have, there are many, many more pollutants that I'm not going to read because they're deemed within the acceptable range. Those are, and this is not the exhaustive list, there are more, but you know, those are the more significant, or like the ones that I could pronounce. And they are in excess of what is considered acceptable. So there's going to be a lot of soil remediation that needs to happen to actually put these buildings up. So what's interesting, so let's get to demolition. Pollution in the buildings themselves include asbestos and lead. Both are present on both campuses. Through the document, what is interesting is that they tested both campuses for mold, and there is no mold with the exception of Elliott Building 1 in the basement. That is the only area where they located traces of mold, not even a significant pattern. That's the only area. There is no mold otherwise. Those buildings are actually, you know, pretty watertight. There may be mold issues for leaks in specific apartments, but not widespread through the entire buildings. Okay, so that's a little chart that shows the scattering of the construction, the phasing of the construction, and you can see that, you know, the bulk is really going to happen between 2026 and 2038. So it, you know, it's a good like 10-12 years of intense construction. All right, neighborhood character. As you could see at the beginning of the presentation, we're going to have very tall buildings and the demolition of historic buildings. So Elliott Houses is eligible for the National Register, okay? So it is a historic landmark, eligible for the National Register. It is not a city landmark, but it has historic merits, and it could be listed on the National Register. So a little bit of toggling of before and after. So a couple of renderings that are available in the draft environmental statement. So that's the before, that's the after. That's the before, that's the after. And then that's the before, so that's Chelsea Market, and that's the after. So, you know, once again, toggling. So that's before, after, and then before and after. All right, so is there another option? Yes, there is another option, and this option is included in the draft environmental impact statement. It is a full rehabilitation alternative. It is dismissed by the same document as infeasible because it does not reach the goals of the project, but at the same time, the document doesn't tell us why it does not meet the goals of the project. Numerous community groups disagree with this dismissal. It's interesting to note that at the time of the RFP, 3 RFP respondents responded with a full rehabilitation plan, okay? So not 1, but 3 proposals, full rehabilitation, and this is what they look like. So Chelsea Forward was a team of developers and architects. L&M was the main developer, and this is what they proposed. Full rehabilitation, no demolition whatsoever. That proposal was from Westside Preservation Partners, another reputable developer that has done a number of projects in affordable housing as well as public housing. And this was their proposal. Once again, no demolition, full rehabilitation, fully renovated apartments, new kitchens, new bathrooms, new lobbies, new security systems. And even Related and Essence actually bid on a full rehabilitation project. And this is what they came up with. Once again, full renovation, new apartments, new kitchens, new lobbies, retrofitting of the windows, and all the good stuff that these buildings need. So once again, let me show you. So that was one proposal, another proposal, a third proposal, full rehab, no demolition needed. So what about financing? So we've heard a lot about we need to do the demolition because of funding. We need to do that because that's where we're going to, be able to pay for what we need. So the plan is funded by Section 8 project-based vouchers. What's interesting is that those vouchers have the same dollar amount, whether it is an existing apartment or a new apartment. So whether you demolish and rebuild or you keep the existing apartment and you make it look nicer, you get the same amount of money. And you get this money from the federal government. This is project-based vouchers, Section 8. So regardless of what you do, whether you do demo or rehab, you're getting the same revenue. All right. In exchange for this revenue, the developer and NYCHA is able to issue bonds, which is like a IOU. It's like, we project that we're going to get a lot of rental income coming in. So in 30 years, that will amount to $1.3 billion. Can we actually get the money up front? And then we will repay the bonds in the course of these 30 years. If you were to do that, the bonding capacity for this particular project, once again, regardless of whether you demolish or you rehab, okay, you get the same amount. The bonding capacity is $1.3 billion. Once you've secured these bonds, you are eligible to receive low-income housing tax credits. Once again, you get it whether you demo or you rehab. And the beauty, if you rehab, is that you are also eligible for historic tax credits, okay? Because Elliott is eligible for the National Register. So they would be eligible. If you keep the buildings, you actually get more money because you're eligible for this tax credit. So that is known as the stacking. In this process, Related puts actually very, very little money, and the value of the land is not needed and is not packaged in the financing proposal that NYCHA and Related have presented to the community. So what we learned also in the course of meetings organized by Community Board 4 and spearheaded by the chair of the Housing Committee, Joe Restuccio, is that it would cost more and it will take longer to do a full demolition than it would with a rehabilitation. Once again, let me say that again. It will take longer and it will cost more to do the demolition than it would to do the rehabilitation. And you can refer to a December 2024 committee meeting of Community Board 4, and you have the statement from NYCHA and from Related making this exact point. Okay, so is this project still fundable? We started in 2017, and the price tag for the rehabilitation was 366 million. And then it went up to 900 million and change, and then above 1 billion, and then 1.5. The latest was 1.9 billion. And now with tariffs in place, with the cost of construction materials increasing dramatically, we do not know how much a rehabilitation, a demolition plan would cost. Keep in mind also that this demolition plan was never put to bid, okay? What was bid, let me just show you again, were these 3 rehab alternatives. Those are the bids we have. There is no bid for the full demolition reconstruction of these campuses. So we don't know how much it costs. And once we know, we don't know if it's going to be competitive, because once again, this particular plan was not put to bid. So what are the concerns? We've gone through a lot. So noise, very tall buildings, displacement during construction, disruption to community and environment, loss of public land and control, uncertainty over long-term affordability, pressure on sewer, water, traffic systems, and escalating cost. What I will add to that is that in the documents, it says clearly that it commits to relocating all the tenants, but it also says that it cannot guarantee that it will relocate all the tenants. And the document says that we can expect that 97% of the tenants will move back in or will be located on site, which means that 3% will not, which in the grand scheme of things is huge. I invite you all to watch Raising Liberty Square, in which you can see that displacement takes numerous forms. It does not always take the form of kicking people out and in a very, very hostile fashion. It also comes with encouraging, nudging, suggesting to folks that maybe they should move, maybe they should relocate to another state, maybe they could get another type of voucher and try their luck on the private market. So want to make it very, very clear that there is a serious risk of permanent displacement for the current public housing tenants contained in this proposal. So what can you do? Once again, as I said at the beginning, attend the public hearings April 23rd, April 24th. You can also submit written testimony, talk to your neighbors, There's such a huge deficit of knowledge on what's going on. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors. If you see someone at the mail room in your building, if you're going to a meeting or at the PTA of the local school, the community center, the senior center, wherever you hang out, tell your friends, because there is not enough information. Talk to Lydia. She has flyers.
Representatives, Eric Botcher has the key vote on this proposal.
And call Jerry Nadler, our congressman. They both hold tremendous power on this proposal. They need to hear from you. I think they've heard already quite a bit. They need to continue to hear that this project is hugely controversial and that many of us really dislike this project because it is going to be such a disaster for Chelsea. And once again, there is an alternative. So, it's not like we are in front of a, impossible choice. There is an alternative. Stay engaged. It is not final. It is not a done deal. And when people tell you it's a done deal, tell them that they are wrong, plain and simple. It is not a done deal. So, public hearing, Fulton, Wednesday, April 23rd, starting at 6 p.m. We will have a press conference at 5 p.m. Come, bring your signs, make them, borrow one. We'll have plenty, but just come. Elliott-Chelsea, Thursday, April 24th, starting at 6:30. Come to both, speak at both, don't be shy. Written testimony can be submitted by email and by mail. The information is on the screen. I will also make sure that all of this is posted on CRDC website. You will have it available. Once again, we need to show our opposition and we need to make our voices heard. Talk to your neighbors, stay engaged. This is not final. And now let's move on to Q&A. All right, so I see lots of hands going up
Before,
with great gusto and excitement. Thank you so much, guys. I
if
know it
you
was a
are
long.
going to be answering a question in the room, we'd ask that you stand just behind the owl speaker microphone over there, and that should get you guys all set.
Right, it's asked to make sure people online can hear you.
It should work. But yeah,
Uh,
I just have to unmute it. Leila, do you want to go ahead and stop?
So wait, hold on. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
And so I killed my microphone, that's what you want me to do?
So actually, I think they're not.
For right now, I think it's fine.
Can
Until
people hear? Can people online hear the questions? David, can you hear? David Holoka, he's still there.
Roberta, I think you're a little close because it's just got like your chin.
The most beautiful chin ever.
Nobody's saying that whether they can hear or not.
Can
Nobody's able to unmute themselves without.
someone raise their hand? Let me see. How do I do that? Okay, hopefully folks can hear us. Okay, David, can you actually text Fran and ask her if she can hear us? Okay, Roberta, go ahead and ask your question.
Can I ask 2 questions?
Yes.
Okay, my first big question is, I'm wondering how this demolition went from 3 bids for renovation to 1 no bid demolition. What was that process like? I mean, what happened?
Okay, so what happened is a little unclear and not totally surprising. You probably remember that in 2019, a working group was convened, and the working group issued a report, and the report was very, very clear. No demolition was the first recommendation. The second recommendation was all the funds that may be raised through this project, hopefully through the lease on the land, must stay in Chelsea. Okay, so those were like the two main recommendations. There were another like 10 recommendations. And the working group also said, it's not a pick and choose. You have to take all these recommendations as a whole. They put the project to bid. They Related is the winning bidder. And then allegedly, and it is actually described in the draft EIS, an evaluation is done of the actual condition, and we are told that the condition is worse than what they had expected or bid on. And therefore, we are told that it was more economically feasible to then demolish the buildings rather than refurbishing them. The thing, though, is that these documents that actually demonstrate that the buildings were in worse condition than what the bidding participants had responded is not available. It is not in the draft EIS. I actually submitted another FOIA request on Monday to NYCHA asking for this document because we need to know what kind of condition they encountered, how they priced it, how much it is. Maybe it can be priced at a better price. I don't know. Usually in a capitalistic society, which, New York is the epicenter, you get the best value because you put things to bid and you encourage competition. For this particular project, somehow it did not happen. So I cannot tell you how it went from 3 bids rehab to 1 bid full demo. But I can tell you that there is a glaring hole in the information that has been released that substantiates the claim that it is the only way.
I have a second question.
Go ahead.
Has anybody studied how this will hurt the children in the neighborhood? So PS 33, there are young children with developing bodies, developing eardrums, and with this noise level that sounded like it was above the acceptable level, has anybody looked into the damage that it can do to the kids in the neighborhood?
Yeah, very, very, very good question. So it's also important to note that construction is going to last for years on end. So it's not like a, 2-month and then it's over. It is basically, it means that for this cohort of children who are entering the school at that particular year, their entire elementary school years will be ruined by that. So, for these cohorts, whether it is PS 33 or the other school, the James Baldwin or Avenues, the World School, these cohorts are going to be majorly impacted. I'm sure that studies have been done on, the effect of excessive noise on developing brains. All we need to know is that, it is going to be above what is acceptable, which means that, it will cause significant impact to these children. Absolutely.
Thanks.
I'm going to take David and then Carol. And then I see lots of hands up on Zoom and we will get to you. David, go ahead.
First, thank you so much for your work and research on this. I know you've worked very hard, so it's well appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'd just like to make a small suggestion, and I have a question. Because I'm on the community board, and the plans are always coming up is about demolition. If we can put to the forefront the alternative plan of renovation, put that out there, because if we're getting specs of like, this is responding to demolishing. I think we need also to send stuff out about renovation, so we can tweak that plan the way we're tweaking the demolishing plan. My question is, I've lived in Hudson Yards for about 30 odd years. And since the completion of these huge buildings, there's like wind cannon, and it was so bad. 2 nights ago on Tuesday, I literally had to get off my bicycle because the wind was so. How will that affect? Terrace, how will it affect everything? And thank you again.
Yeah, hold on.
It's echoing.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much, David. Sorry.
Got it. Okay, yeah. Thank you, David. So it's interesting because, as you know, the City Planning Commission voted to approve the Hudson Yards proposed rezoning. It's currently, going through a similar, not exactly the same, but fairly similar process. And the commissioner, Commissioner Mann, who represents Manhattan, actually voted against, and he noted in his remarks that the wind tunnel that the proposed Hudson Yards project would cause is not mitigated and is unacceptable. With this particular project, maybe I missed it, but I did not read any wind study that was performed for this project. And the way, I wish I could show you. So for the Fulton site, basically what they're proposing is to create a sort of like little passageway between the buildings. All right, so it's sort of like, mid-block little passageway. This is, and with very, very tall buildings on each side. This is going to be a crazy wind tunnel. And in the document, there is absolutely no mention of that. And wind tunnels are actually created not only, between two buildings, but like between this and Elliott-Chelsea and Hudson Yards. All of this is going to work in conjunction. So very, very good point, and very serious problem not being addressed in the DEIS. Once again, with a caveat that maybe it's the page that I missed, but I did not see anything about it. Carol.
Carol, if you're able to hit, actually, I'll, and you need to mute there.
A comment and I have a question, if you don't mind. I also read the environmental impact statement, and I found it interesting that they did a assessment of the impact on the neighborhood, but they are, and I assume this is what they are restricted to in a federal project. They only considered the impact on open space. So this is there's a lot of historic low-rise neighborhood. That is not, the impact on the historic low-rise neighborhood is not considered in the plan because they don't have to consider it in the plan. I just found that fairly shocking. But my question is that the study comes out with several things where it says these 4 things can't be mitigated. And they exceed the limits. At the end of the day, what then becomes of that? Is that, the government can say, this is, this has X number of risk and many things are not risky. How then is a decision made? I mean, aside from the fact that perhaps NYCHA and Related and our local elected officials want this project to go forward, how is the federal government or whoever else has to make the decision? How is that decided when this project shows certain levels of impact?
So in terms of the process, so this document is legally mandated, but at the same time, the conclusions do not predicate what the outcome is going to be. Meaning that, you know, it's not because there is a monarch butterfly that all of a sudden the whole thing is halted. That being said, if there are many unmitigated adverse impacts, which this project is on so many levels, noise, which, you know, they will say it's temporary, but, you know, it's like 15 to 30 years is kind of like not so temporary. But also, you know, the traffic, which is permanent. The agency still has a fair amount of discretion to make their determination. Okay, so this is the tricky bit where, you know, even if it was, you know, a highly polluting power plant next to a body of water, it can still be built. Okay, even if it is clearly demonstrated that it will have negative impacts, but our voices matter. And this is where, you know, the collective effort of a community that says, we cannot live with this level of noise and impact to the children and shadows on parks that we took 15 years to get the High Line. And now you're going to plunge it. And the way the High Line special district was created was exactly to like carefully, painfully considering the massing of the buildings so that those new buildings would not cast shadow onto the High Line. And then you come with this project and you're like, no, actually, we don't care about this anymore. This is just, in my opinion, unconscionable. And this is where we collectively have to say, this is not acceptable. This need to be mitigated. And it seems, reading the document, once again, you know, pretty much cover to cover, that the way to mitigate is actually to choose the alternative of no demolition and full rehabilitation, which would, you know, still have, you know, like some trucks coming and, you know, installing new windows and installing new kitchens. And, you know, all of that will have some impact for sure, but not to the extent of this particular proposal. So once again, you know, the agencies have a fair amount of discretion, but if we push, if we manage to convince our elected officials that, you know, this plan is really unacceptable, we can hope that the outcome will be in our favor. And then ultimately, and I will say it, you know, if really the decision of the agency is arbitrary and is capricious because the impact are so blatantly intense, and deciding to move forward is in essence arbitrary and capricious, then a judge may decide that, you know, this project cannot move forward. Len, and then I'm going to go to Zoom for online questions.
Yeah, what I wanted to add was that it's important for us to forge alliances with as many outside entities as possible to help us in this endeavor. Because I think the point that you make is very, very important. And that is that it's a discretionary decision in the end. And that really what's imperative is that we tip the balance of power away from Related and the Housing Authority and the city. And I think, for an example, if we take the issue which you did kind of talk about, the sewer question and the impact on the Hudson River. There is an organization called the Hudson River Clearwater that has widespread credibility. They have worked for decades to clean the Hudson River. They can be brought into this fight and they can become allies with us in this, as can the High Line, as can a broader circle of forces. And it seems to me that that is the crucial thing that we need to do, is to build the united opposition to this demolition, to defeat it.
Absolutely. So this is.
All right, very important point that Len is making. Len, it looks like you know this organization. Please, tomorrow morning, send them an email and bring them up to speed on what is going on. And I'm sure that we are all in touch with various groups, but we really need to make sure that we do all this outreach. It's super critical. And with the sewer issue, it is particularly critical because the sewer does not really stop at 28th Street, or once it's in the Hudson River, it's that's it. It goes downstream. Battery Park City will be impacted. It's so it has a cumulative impact. So if we have Hudson Yards, which also the I guess we're in final EIS for them, really demonstrated that they have unmitigated impact. And if this one as well, it's like turning the river into a raw sewage. Let me go to people on Zoom, and then I will come back to the room. We are going to recognize Rosemary Garcia. You are permitted to speak.
Hello? Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Unmuted, but we cannot hear you, Rosemary.
Oh. Hello, can you hear me? Oh. Can you give me 1 second?
I can
I
hear
said
her.
you can
I
hear
hear you,
me?
Miss Rosemary.
How you doing? I have.
No, I'm not. No, I'm just telling you, that I hear you. They having a problem, not us. We can hear
Oh,
you.
so
It's the people that have the filming. They're having a problem. So just wait and
okay.
see what happens. Maybe
Thank
they
you.
got. Yeah, it's not you. I'll let you
What's
know
your
that.
name?
I'm Teresa.
Hi, Teresa.
Hi there.
I can hear you as well, dear. Okay,
Okay.
good.
Now they might.
I'm on the Zoomy and I hear you as well, just to let you know. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
I talk now?
We do, yeah.
Can they hear me now?
We can hear you. Ask your question, Rosemary.
Okay, the first question that I have, 2 bedrooms are gonna be the same? If they're just gonna renovate and not demolition?
Smaller, the apartments will be smaller.
Okay, so 2 bedroom but smaller, okay. The other question, I have an adult daughter. Can she apply for here? She used to be on my lease for the new buildings or the ones that are remaining?
Okay,
Can't hear
so
you.
I think I got your questions.
Can you hear me really good? Can you hear me?
Okay, we cannot hear you on the Zoomy.
Okay, okay. Can
We're
everybody
going
else
to do
hear
a
me?
quick tweak.
Okay,
Bear with us.
Okay,
now, got it,
Okay.
now, got it. You're here now.
now I could talk? Now, can I speak? You'll be able to hear me? Let me know when, please. Thank you.
Okay, I can hear you on the Zoomy, but I cannot hear Layla on the Zoom.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Now-
Rosemary, thank you so much. I put you on mute again, just so that we don't have this audio issue. So I think your first question was, is the bedroom count going to be the same? I think that was the first question. And the answer is no, not necessarily. The units will be replaced one for one, but the size of the units and the number of bedrooms may be different. And this will be at the sole discretion of NYCHA. And we know that because it is mentioned in the master development agreement. Okay, so I think that was your first question. Your second question had to do with your daughter, and I'm going to invite Renee to join me. Or maybe you want to do it from over there. No, why don't you come here, Renee, so that we can So Renee Kitt, who is the president of the Elliott-Chelsea Tenants Association, is joining me. Thank you so much, Renee. And she can address the tenant and lease question. So Renee, go ahead.
Are you a current tenant?
We cannot do it back and forth, so
That's gonna be impossible. I need to ask questions to get. to
we have audio difficulties, so can you actually answer like in both scenarios?
Let's put it this way. If she is a present tenant, she can try to put them on the lease.
Okay,
She can try to do that. Will it work? I don't know.
okay,
Because of this back and forth that's going on, whether they're going to, because of the proposed demolition. So if the daughter is not living here now, will that be allowed? I don't know. She can try.
okay, okay, all right. So no clear answer. It's possible, but it's not guaranteed. And how does one go about that?
She should do it now.
Okay, so like time is of the essence. It's important to,
Well, also, you're on a up and, you don't know what's going on. Do you want to put your daughter on the lease? If you need to put your daughter on the lease, then you can try. But because so much is going on, there's no guarantee.
okay,
And also, if you're only in a 1-bedroom, that means you now need a 2-bedroom for your daughter. So those are things that have to be thought of as well. Will they give you that 2-bedroom that you will need?
okay, all right. So it's not a clear yes or no question. Is there a resource for tenants to actually ask these questions and get help?
Because we are in such a state, there are very few people can answer that. What they can try to do is to go to New York Legal Assistance Group. But because we are in between state, between them trying to demolish us for this proposed demolition, it gets to be very difficult to answer these questions now.
Okay, and it's called New York Legal Assistance Group?
Right, NYLAG.
Okay. We will make sure that the contact information for this organization is in our next e-blast.
Right.
Renee, is legal aid then written off?
Legal aid does not, they have a public housing, but I would suggest them to go to NYLAG. Legal aid is very much into the RAD-PAC process. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
If you said that if somebody has a 2-bedroom apartment now, there's no guarantee that they will have a 2-bedroom apartment in the newly constructed.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Let's say my daughter is on the lease now,
Mhm.
and she now has a 2-bedroom apartment. There is nothing that says that she will be able to get a 2-bedroom apartment in new construction.
That is correct.
Right.
That is correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Because NYCHA, according to them, they have the ability, they'll be following NYCHA rules. And part of that, if you have a 3-bedroom apartment and you're one person, they will downsize you. So that means you lose bedroom space, you lose families coming in. Eventually, you only have 1 bedrooms. Who are you actually putting in? And it's basically a disappearing of community.
Now,
Right.
Yes.
she said, her and her daughter, there is still.
She wants to put her daughter on the lease.
But if somebody is living
Right.
in a apartment now, and they have a daughter, and they're both on the lease, are you saying that in new construction, there is nothing that says they have to get a 2-bedroom apartment?
That's correct. NYCHA does not guarantee. NYCHA says best effort. NYCHA says right sizing, which has some form of a definition. It's not totally arbitrary and random, but there is no guarantee.
Right.
Okay. All right. I just want to move the process along. We have lots of questions. The next question goes to Sadie.
Hello, Sadie.
Hi, everybody. I'm from Reese, but I have a question in regards to that slide that you showed.
Sadie, you're permitted to speak.
Oh, I muted myself.
There we go.
You can hear me?
Yes, we can.
You can hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, my question is in regards to the slide. I'm from Reese. I live in Reese development. So I have an issue with because there was a part that you mentioned where it says 97% will be able to get back, but 3% will not, right? But you know, with the 17-year, I guess they're trying to build everything. The housing stock can drop between now and then because you're talking about because you can't forecast financial calamity, right? And that could lead to liens on the property sooner than later. And at the same token, that will open them up for a source of income discrimination because you can't guarantee what you're going to have by that time because Social Security is already saying they don't have enough funding. And a lot of people are on fixed incomes. So even if they say they have the voucher, there's no guarantee they have money for that. And then there's no guarantee that people at that time, because like I said, you can't predict, you can't forecast financial calamity for the residents when you're doing that, because that's not what they added into that equation, you know, because they're so concerned about the shadows of a building and stuff like that, that you have to look at those families, because you already said only 2.3 people. I don't even know how to get 2.3 of a person to talk about that's only going to be allowed into an apartment. Like that is not even feasible, you know? And then at the same time, what happens to those who have like DV cases, or are they priority? Or the seniors priority when they decide who gets to come back and how? So that's just my question.
Okay. Okay. The audio is not super good in the room, but I think I got the question. So what NYCHA has explained is that the rent for tenants will still be 30% of the income. So that will not change. And they're also saying that there will be no need for recertification. But at the same time, they say there's no need for recertification as the lease is transferred, but it's unclear whether new tenants who move in, who were not part of, you know, the original existing tenancy, it looks like they would have to recertify.
Yes.
So there will be, you know, a pool of tenants who are currently, you know, sort of like grandfathered, but then the new tenants who move in would have to go through the recertification process. So in terms of who would be eligible to stay, I have not heard anything about you know, people who would have different circumstances who would not be able to stay, but at the same time, they're already telling us in the document that 3% of the tenants are expected not to return. And they kind of
Okay.
say it as, well, they would choose to go elsewhere. So I don't know what you can
Okay,
add
so-
to that, Renee.
Right now, I don't know how they're saying 3% when they're saying 6% are going to be moved around. So that's part of the problem. These percentages are constantly changing. So you have elders who are going to be moved allegedly into the apartments in Fulton and Elliott. If they don't, and they may downsize them. The seniors are already living in 1-bedroom apartments. As we are basically built for families, we don't have a lot of 1-bedrooms. I know they're in the buildings now, but who are they really rehabilitating the empty apartments for? One can never quite say. What's also going on is, yes, people have already been displaced because they're leaving because of the mental stress that is going on. So displacement is not just coming back. They say 6% of the people will either be moving out. If not, they don't have an apartment in Fulton or Elliott. They will allegedly be going to a PAC partner. That means related, because Essence doesn't have anything. And if that doesn't work, a NYCHA development, who knows where. So the nearest ones to us are either the Lower East Side, or their Harbor View at 55th Street, or it's Amsterdam houses. Those are the ones that are nearest to us. So because the tale keeps changing as you go along, one's never quite sure. So somewhere along the realm, people are being sacrificed and will be sacrificed, and it will be the tenants who are sacrificed. And we don't know if, like Raising Liberty, all of a sudden they're going to come up with Section 8 vouchers. This is not a neighborhood that has a lot of Section 8. So they will be leaving their homes. There's no guarantee that the schools will take the children if they don't live in this neighborhood. So that means lives are being upended. So the people who are sacrificed are the residents. That's the basic sacrifice.
It sounds like it's the same tactic as the Trump immigration plan. Spread fear and uncertainty and have people self-report, have people move out of the
Right.
buildings so they can hit their 6% number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
All right, moving on. Wait,
So can you just add Penelope to your list
sure.
and I'll ask.
The next question goes to Salinas. Salinas, you are permitted to speak.
I'm hoping you can hear me. Oh, I can't hear later.
They can hear you.
Okay, good. So I just wanted to add, there is another alternative that wasn't mentioned. It's called the no action alternative, which means that we're pretty much leaving it as it is now. It's the only alternative available in keeping these in keeping these buildings public. And this is the victory that Jacob Riis is presently celebrating. They chose to stay public. And now they don't have to risk a demolition. So we do have funds. I know people say we don't have funds. There's so much capital circulating in New York City alone. Like we don't even have to touch federal fundings. It's just a matter of getting our elected officials to working for us. Brad Lander did it. He did it for a development. I think Renee might know, through the comprehensive modernization program. So I just wanted to make clear there is another alternative. It's called the no action alternative. And it means that we would stay public as we are now.
So let me add to that. It's called comprehensive modernization. It keeps you under Section 9. And that was done for Wyckoff houses and Gowanus in Brooklyn. So that was a deal that was done. Even though we are prime real estate and everyone wants to make money off of us, because that's what this plan is, comprehensive modernization. It's been done in 4 NYCHA developments, Todd Hills, St. Nicholas houses, Wyckoff and Gowanus.
Where does the funding come from? City, state, federal?
They were able to do it under NYCHA's plan itself. and also because they had a certain amount of asbestos and lead, also the deal as well. So we don't know what it actually costs because we've never seen it. We just heard it came to 1 point something billion. We now know that the demolition option is more, 1.9, 25% tariff, 2.4. So nobody knows what the real issues are. We haven't seen anything or what the real costs are. All we know is that we are very valuable and they want to make money off of us. That's the gist of the whole thing. It's all about the land value in Chelsea. And that makes us vulnerable. And that means to anyone, we will be vulnerable to people and we will be the ultimate sacrifice in the end.
Yeah, and to add to that, last week there was a mayoral forum on public housing, and Michael Blake, who is one of the candidates, I think said it very clearly and very eloquently. The state budget is 216 billion. The city budget is 110 billion with a B. And he said, give me a break. Don't tell me you can't find money for public housing. Just give me a break. So, you know, right now we are told that the only source of revenue is from HUD. You know, it's so not true. You know, the state and the city can, you know, step up to the plate.
Another thing I'd like to add is that the Chelsea Houses at one time was founded by the state of New York and it was defunded by it.
Yeah.
And one thing we need to remember, it is 2 years younger than Penn South. 1962 for Penn South, Chelsea House is 1964. Nobody's saying to demolish Penn South. Nobody's saying to demolish the Haywood building, which is 108 years old and standing on our property today. So let's be honest what this really is all about.
All right, the next question goes to Gary. Gary, you can unmute.
Can you hear me now? Thumbs up? Yes, thank you so much. That segues perfectly into my question. It is abundantly clear, and thank you so much for all your work. I live about a block north of the buildings in Chelsea on 9th Avenue, and I've been here since 2006. It is abundantly clear that demolishing will affect the residents mostly, the community, infrastructure, and the environment. That is abundantly clear, right? That we know. Appealing to people, though, from that point of view, doesn't always move the needle. This is clearly about money and profit. So my main question is, who is making the money off of demolishing these buildings? Because I do believe that should be a partial plan of attack. Because if we don't shame who will be making the money, we will not be making a big enough wave. Are people really going to bend because children in schools are going to deal with noise for 15 years? I'm not sure. Are people really going to care about the residents of the building being displaced? I'm honestly not so sure, unfortunately. But if we attack the people who are making the money, if there is a way to move the needle there a little bit, we might make some ground. Does that make sense?
Thank you, Gary, for your question and thought and suggestion. I will also share with everybody in the on the CRDC website the financing stack, so you can see, you know, how the money flows. And what I can tell you is that currently Related would put $63 million with an M, okay, for a project that is $1.9 billion. Okay, so that means that represents barely 3% of the total cost, which means that 97% of the funds that are going to be needed for this project are public funding. Bonds, rental coming from HUD, tax credits, public money. As one person who may be in this room has said numerous times, this amounts to the looting of the US Treasury. And this is a for-profit enterprise. Okay, so Related in Essence, who are the partners in this endeavor, are bound to make a profit. They have a,
Privately held companies too, so
They-
it's not even like it'll help our 401ks. It is going into a big black hole, it won't even trickle.
so, and also because they are a privately owned company, the reporting is minimal. So there is not a great deal of transparency on, how they allocate the profits. So we will share this information. We've actually done a lot of work, putting all of this data together. But when we've have had it checked by numerous experts who all confirm that this is actually not just back of the envelope. This is actually really, a pretty detailed understanding of, how the funding is going to flow.
But isn't NYCHA using?
Carol.
Isn't NYCHA using this project to fund its portfolio citywide? This is not just, Related will make money, but NYCHA stands to make the most, was my understanding.
So I would not say necessarily that they stand to make the most. What is going to happen is that the land that will be occupied by the replacement buildings, i.e. the buildings in which the public housing tenants will all be clumped and segregated. Let's use words, for what they mean. It will be segregation. So the land under these buildings will go to Related for free, okay? NYCHA is not expected to get money for this land. NYCHA is hoping to get money for the land on which the mixed income buildings will be built. And this is where they're hoping to make a lot of money. And this is where they have been very, very clear. They do not expect to keep this funding in Chelsea and in these particular housings. The funding will be used to actually support other properties elsewhere in the city. They will also be a partner, a financial partner with Related and Essence, i.e. that, if there is profits, NYCHA is supposed to receive their share of the profit, but at the same time, the way it is structured, because Related and Essence are the main developers, they get their cut first. And it is likely, once again, because it's a privately owned company, there will be very minimal reporting, but it is likely that Related and Essence will structure the funding flow in such way that there will be no profit, and therefore NYCHA will not receive any cut because it will be, taken on a different track by Essence and Related.
Gary, people you should be shaming are our representatives who are allowing this project to go through. This project cannot go through without a vote from Eric Botcher, okay? He is our representative in Chelsea, and he is the person who should be ashamed of supporting this project. So you can shame a private company that is there to make money all you want. I don't think that's news to anybody, but a public official who's supposed to represent the best interests of his constituents, that's something else.
So I will also say, Gary, that you should absolutely join us at the press conference, 5 p.m. on the 23rd on 17th Street in front of the Fulton building.
Related also owns Equinox, and it also owns Blink, so you can direct your buyer there as well if you'd like.
Oh, that's why Eric exercises there.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right, moving on. Renee, is this you?
No. it
That's
shouldn't
another
be.
Renee?
Yeah.
All right, Renee, you are permitted to speak. You can unmute yourself.
Wonderful. Hello. Thank you so much. I hope this call
Okay,
finds
thank you.
everyone well. That's the first thing. Second thing, Miss Leila,
No, I turned it off.
Leila?
All right, whoever Renee is, Renee,
Hello?
we can hear you.
Wonderful. Good evening. I hope this call finds everyone well. Number one. Number two, Miss Leila, the work that you have done is, it's beyond appreciated, okay? I don't, must have been a full-time job for you. So appreciation and gratitude is just, okay, I have no words. So that's the second thing. The third thing is, I live in mutual redevelopment houses. And also, I'm so sorry for the distress and the upheaval and the fear and all of the things that this is producing for you people. Obviously, Renee, you're sitting there, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry for your struggles. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay. Mutual redevelopment houses sent out a newsletter, I believe today or yesterday, and I've not heard of anything about this. Nothing. Until I got an email from LEAPS. I don't know if you people know what LEAPS is from Penn South. Now, why am I hearing this from LEAPS and not from the office, the main office at Mutual Redevelopment Houses, Penn South? We are a little village. We're a city here, okay? We're our own city in a city. 2,860 apartments. Okay, that's a lot of people. And I can assure you, many of them have no idea this is going on. Okay, I don't know if you have a number, but how many people will be affected by this? Because if we can somehow inform all of those that are going to be affected, and the number has to be very high. I don't know how many, but it has to be 200, 300,000 people. I don't know, but I can assure you, so many people have no idea that this is going to happen. Now, unfortunately, they're not all on a beach at one time, and we can't go with a plane and a what do you call these billboards on the plane that rides by? And of course, everyone looks. Thousands and thousands of people are on the beach seeing that sheet blowing in the wind with whatever it says on it, right? And then everybody knows. So how do we get everyone to know? Right? How do we inform everyone that this is going to affect? That's a very important question, I think. The legislators, blah, 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 blah. I get all their newsletters, you know, the Nadler, the Simone, okay. That's the next thing. Forgive me, I'm going to go for another minute. Just try to speak very quickly. Okay, environmental organizations, obviously, as the gentleman said earlier, need to be, now I just Googled very quickly, New York City environmental organizations. And I have three that came right off the top. First of all, Earth Justice. I don't know if you know anything about them, but they're amazing. And they're in New York City. New York City Environmental Justice Alliance and Human Impacts Institute. I'm sure those are three that we need to partner up with. I don't know how that's done. And forgive me, I don't know how it's done. Number 5 or 6, wherever I am, forgive me. What can someone do, your average bloke who's sitting at home? So for instance, I just recently did a, what do you call this? Phone banking for Mahmoud Khalil, right? It was a Move On. Move On was the social justice organization, and they rallied thousands of people to do phone calls to call thousands of other people. Yeah. And so it all spread out. So I don't know if phone banking is not possible because it's not that kind of thing, right? The phone banking for him, these were people that were already associated with Move On, people like me who follow what they do. And yeah, but of course, your average bloke resident over here, they don't have any idea. There's no web. Let's put it that way. There's no web. So how do we develop a web of all the people that are going to be affected by this? I think that's incredibly important. And that's it.
So Renee, thank you so much. We're going to put you on mute quickly because we have this sound system that doesn't work too well, but I certainly don't mean to cut you off. First of all, thank you so much for being with us tonight, for hearing about it. Listen, the web, we are the web. All right, we are the web, and we're all doing our share. We have Len Paletta, who's one of your neighbors. He lives at Penn South. Joanne Sinovoy is here in the room. She lives at Penn South. We have a number of our members who are residents of Penn South. You need to join us. Actually, go on CRDC and sign up for our emails. You need
CRDCNYC.org.
CRDCNYC.org. Len, Saturday something is happening. What is? Okay, so on Saturday, your neighbor Len Paletta, who lives in Building 8, is going to get together with other of his neighbors, including Joanne. Yay! Yay! David, and we will meet in front of Sullivan Bakery at 10 o'clock. All right, Saturday in front of Sullivan Street Bakery at 10 o'clock, leafletting at Penn South with Len Paletta. Once again, we will share all this information in the next e-blast that will go out tonight. Now, you found some environmental organizations, let them know, reach out to them. Basically, it's an all hands on deck, but it's also a whatever we can do, we do. It's not a, we don't have minions in the basement doing the work. We are the help, we are the web, we are the energy. So we all need to do our share and support each other, because this is the only way that we can get something accomplished. Something really, really critical that Lydia has said, and I'm going to repeat it: reach out to your elected officials. Call Councilmember Butcher, call Congressman Nadler, call Assemblymember Simone, and tell them that you oppose this project. And finally, come to the hearings on the 23rd and the 24th. I cannot emphasize how important that is. All right, moving on. We have okay, so Roberta, do you want to read the question from Penelope?
Question that I didn't ask was.
Hold on. Make sure you.
Yeah.
I just had one question. Why is every one of our elected officials for this project when so much of the community is against it? Now, maybe I don't want to put you in a difficult position, but part of me, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it doesn't make sense that with the community opposition, that every single, starting with Eric Baccia, going to Tony Simone and Brad Hoylman and Jerry Nadler, and not only are they not saying, they are adamant, and have treated Layla really badly when she's brought up questions. Like, why are they asking these questions? We've all been, yes, everybody's been treated badly. But anyway, Layla, you did a yeoman's job. I read the first page and I fell asleep. The fact that you could get through this is a testament to you and your tenacity. But Penelope Anderson, who lives on my block, has a couple of questions. She says, where will the tenants live during demolition and construction? And who will pay for move out and move back? That's part one. And part two, what about the people with developmental disabilities, seniors, people with autism, who now have housing that they're able to manage with established help? What happens to those people?
Very, very good questions. I will let Renee take those questions, but yeah, Renee.
We will be living in the construction zone. We will be watching homes and people be demolished. That's what's gonna happen. I mean, you know, Hudson Guild Senior comes first. They'll get to watch homes being demolished, move back. We'll be watching our homes eventually going. We'll be under mental strain, health strain. We'll be breathing all the plastics and everything that comes with construction. That's what we'll be doing. We will take the brunt of it and everyone else is nearby. Anyone have developmental issues or any other kind of health issues, they will also be asked, most likely they will have to be moved somewhere else. Where else, I don't know. Because where else takes the other people's housing, and that means the housing crisis we allegedly have will only become worse. And I say allegedly have because we have many vacant lots, lots of empty apartments, including NYCHA itself, and that's what will happen. And who's paying for it? They're most likely, they're gonna make a lot of money. They will pay for it. Related says, we will come, we will pack you up, we will move you around. That's another way to make it seem that it's all gonna be so easy and good for you, but they stand to make even more money. So that's why they're doing it, not out of the goodness of their heart, out of absolute greed.
Renee, do you want to do you want to take Roberta's first question? Why are all the elected officials supporting this plan?
We are not the people that they represent, to be quite honest. We don't vote, allegedly, we don't vote, but we do. We are not the wider, wealthier constituency that they want. They think they can just roll over with us. They thought there wouldn't be any opposition, but there is. They didn't think we had the nerve to start fighting back, having 949 petition signature, which specifically says no demolition. They thought they could roll over us, and they're not having it so easy. They are manufacturing consent on this campus every day. We have people going around saying, oh, do you want to, do you want demolition of the buildings? Let's have photographs of you. Let's have you sign. Then let you have call Eric Botcher on his 212 number. And yes, they are still doing that. They thought it'd be easy, but honey, we're fighting back. That's why they thought they could do it. We'd be so grateful for a dishwasher and a dryer. We already have that stuff, idiots. That's why.
I hear you, but the community board has also been questioning it.
Mhm.
Other people in the community have come out against it. The question remains, why does this community's elected officials, and you're not the only one in the community,
Mhm.
why are they not represented?
Because you all keep voting for them.
That really controls this government. It's called REDD,
See.
the Real Estate Board of New York. There's your answer.
And honestly, you all keep voting for them. You all stop supporting them. Oh, yes, and start electing other people. He will not be here. If he wins, he has 4 years in out. The Gang of Three have their little, what should I say, conspiracy. Let's support each other, let's elect each other, but unless you all stop voting for them and put candidates up who will not do what they do, and you don't think they'll become that, you have no hope. That means start finding the candidates who will not do this and people who you think will do better. If you do not do that, this is what you will continue to get. From the council member, your state senator, your assembly person, your borough president, and your mayor, going up to your congressperson and your senators and your president. Things begin locally. Stop electing them. Get rid of them. Start finding people who are not the usual suspects, and then fight, push them in and run them. Start preparing them for office. If you do not do this, mediocrity is what you get, and this is what you have.
Right. One last question goes to Cornelia. Cornelia, you are permitted to speak.
Hi, thank you, both Layla, Renee, and everybody, and also the people who had the questions. I have a question. I worked in a former life, in federal budgets, and when there were RFPs with defense contractors, it was highly scrutinized. There were very specific processes, and you were not allowed to simply go back and change without like an open bid what the RFP was for. So I want to understand, is there a whiff of anything like illegal happening? Because I'm not privy to all of the rules and the laws, but my understanding is generally when there's an RFP out there, it has to be an open bid and you cannot go back and then just suddenly change what the scope or the initiative is. And this really goes back to Roberta's first question. And I'm wondering, like, is there a whiff of anything illegal? What is this just, backdoor dealings, but we don't think there was anything that was illegal happening? Like, how does something like this happen? And who are the right people to ask that question of? Because it's not in line with what I've seen, at the federal level in the past. I know this is local.
I thank you very much, Cornelia, for a very important question. So NYCHA is a public benefit corporation, okay? It is not an agency. It is not an authority. It falls under the definition of an authority, but it has a non-for-profit status. It has a public mission, but it does not entirely fall under the procurement rules of a straightforward city agency or even a state or federal agency. Where it falls is actually under the state procurement rule, but it also has quite a bit of leeway on what it can do. And because in this particular project, NYCHA is not paying related, okay? It's not like you need to replace all the windows and NYCHA is paying for the replacement of the windows. Here you have a conversion from a certain part of the statute, Section 9, to another part of the statute, which is Section 8. And the developer is basically telling us, oh, okay, I have it all mapped out and this is how I'm going to do the financing for this plan. NYCHA is not putting any of their money into this process. All of that being said, in the initial plan, there was an RFP. It was put to bid because it is using public money to actually finance the project. Rental coming from HUD, bonds issued by the city and by the state, low-income housing tax credits. So all of that needs to be incorporated and accounted for. So has there been any law violated? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't even play one on TV. But I can tell you that the Attorney General has been made aware of the procurement process and, whether her office decides to look closely into it. Maybe they are, or maybe they're not. We don't know. But that office has been made aware of the procurement process and the fact that, this project is a no bid contract. Secondly, in terms of, a civil action, the person or, the entity who could have standing would be, another company who bid on the project. You bid on a project, you thought that it was going to be, oh, can you fix the playground? And then next thing you know, they're building a stadium. If you decided that, you lost the bid, or even if you decided you didn't want to bid because it was too small, and all of a sudden it turns into this giant project, this is who would have standing for filing a lawsuit. It is possible that the statute of limitation has passed, but it is also possible that the case can be made that the project does not yet exist And therefore, there is no violation of the initial RFP until the new project is issued. Once again, complicated situation, complicated answers. There is also an additional state law that basically says that that the issuance of bonds and public money needs to be done responsibly, and that there is the ability for anyone who is a resident of the state to actually sue. It has been done, I think, only once, and I think that the case lost on appeal. It is incredibly, I mean, the hurdle and to actually get a conviction is incredibly high. But the law exists, and it is still a possibility. So once again, long answer, very important question, and hopefully the right people are looking at this issue. All right, I see two more hands that went back up. I want to make sure that really everybody has a chance to speak. So I will go back to Sadie and ask to unmute if you have a follow-up question.
No, it's not a question. It's some information in regards to this group called PEER, is like Public Employees for Environmental Responsibility. If you know Joel Copperman, he's all into environment stuff, right? And so there's this guy named Carl Grossman, right? And he has a national show. Well, he's on like I think about over 40 channels or something like that. But he has this YouTube channel where he discusses about EPA stuff, about the attacks on EPA, because they're in the process, because they're federal. They're gonna lay them off and do a reduction and reduce in force by April 22nd. And so he wants to, explore how they're attacking EPA. So this would be a good thing to contact him, because I have his email and his phone number. And his Carl Grossman, his show that he has is called Enviro Close Up with Carl Grossman. You want his email?
Terrific. Maybe you and I can speak. Sorry, let's kill
have
this
phone number
echo.
too.
Thank you, Dan. Maybe you and I can speak. The chat is not open, but we can, hopefully you can send me an email. My email address is laylademay@gmail.com. So it's laylademay@gmail.com. If you
Okay,
can send
got
me
it.
an email, then we
Mhm.
can continue to communicate offline.
Okay, no problem.
We definitely want to look into this. I see that Teresa has her hand up. Teresa, go ahead.
Hi. I don't have no way like to chat you because I like to stay in contact with you because I work with Safe Section 9 and we have other buildings that are trying to go under RAD.
Teresa?
And yes. Hello?
We
You
can
hear
hear
me?
you now.
Okay, no, I said that I work with Save Section 9 and we have other buildings that are dealing with the same, like disrespect of what they're doing to us like they're doing to Chelsea Elliott. And I would like to find out how I can get in contact with you, but also there have been based on a lot of incidents that they have been targeting seniors. And I was wondering, is there any way that we can, compile a list of the senior names and get the seniors to talk about it, because a lot of seniors have been forced into this thing because they didn't know what they were doing. And, and dealing with Renee before, people who didn't speak English. And so, like, if you live in a place and someone, make you feel like you're gonna lose your place and you're a senior, you feel vulnerable. So you might do things, unnecessary that you would not do if, you had even me. And as much as my big mouth, I can get vulnerable. So, so the thing about it is that, like, how do we deal with those people? Because I feel like people that are seniors and disabled people have been targeted. And I think that's something that needs to be, put in writing. One idea I came, maybe we can create a flyer, a survey, like say, like if we got 10 different complaints, and put the survey Like we can all, we
Okay.
can all.
Okay, I think I got the gist of your question, Teresa. The sound is really bad.
Oh, okay.
So outreach is currently being done at Fulton and Elliott-Chelsea in multiple languages.
Okay.
Flyering, thanks to Renee and Salinas and Jackie and others. So, and the flyers have been translated in Spanish and in Mandarin. So
But I'll
we
put
are,
it together. We're not
doing the
doing
very
outreach.
best, given that,
We're
we're
doing
all
outreach.
volunteers. So, all of this is being done. We do know that, the most vulnerable population is really the residents of the senior building, especially in Elliott-Chelsea. And we know that, they're targeted for being the first cohort, so to speak, that would be relocated.
Excuse me,
So
ma'am, I
we're
wasn't about saying
working with
email that kind of
Renee
stuff. I
and
was saying that,
other tenant
okay, right.
leaders on how to reach out to them. We're almost at the 9 p.m. mark. I will take one more question from madams. You are permitted to speak.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay, good. Hi. Thanks for taking, I just want to start and reiterate what other people had said, that you're doing heroic work, and I really, really appreciate it, that you've got, I really, I'm not understating it at all, but I know that you and several other people are doing the heavy lifting, and it's terrific. And I have to say, this is the most heartening meeting I've been to, because I've been to all the previous meetings on this, and you get certain people who with financial interests in yelling down other speakers, and they've been unpleasant meetings, and I just thought, oh, there's no hope. But my main point is we talk about the impact to the people living in Fulton houses and the other houses, but also the residents around. I mean, nobody mentions that there are going to be millions of rats coming out once they demolish. When the Highline luxury condos were built, we had such an infestation of mice and rats, and it didn't go away for years. This is going to be a real, I mean, the health problems, we need to have some kind of impact study, because the levels of emphysema, I mean, the cadmium, the lead that's going to be in the air from demolishing these buildings. We have, also structural problems, because, I mean, they were just doing work, Con Ed was just doing work on 9th Avenue in front of our building. I'm in an 1840 building. We've never considered demolishing. We renovate, we redo, we patch, we do whatever's necessary to keep that building going, but we haven't demolished. But they were digging up the street, and it was like an earthquake 24 hours a day between the trucks going over the metal plates. And I can only imagine what damage it's going to do to the historic neighborhoods and the old buildings when they try and demolish and do that construction work. It's just going to be terrible. And I can't endure 16 years of that. I don't know what the options are, because there's really no other place to move, but it's going to be awful.
Well, the option is really to make sure that the ultimate plan that is selected is either as Salinas mentioned, a no alternative. Which once again, no alternative doesn't mean that it's the status quo and, the buildings don't get refurbished. You just need to be a little bit more creative on where you get the funding.
Right.
Or an alternative like the three that were bid on, that would, provide the rehabilitation of the buildings and the apartments. So, I think that pushing for that is really going to be critical. And once again, reach out to your council member, reach out to your congressman. Please join the public hearing, speak up, write to NYCHA and HPD and let them know that you do not support this this plan. That would be really very,
Can I
very
say one
helpful.
more, can I say one more thing? Let me just say one
All
more thing.
right, I see that Ramona has her hand up. Ramona, go ahead, and then I think we have one more question in the room, and then we will wrap up the meeting. Ramona, go ahead.
Hi, so as folks are getting ready to support the fight against the demolition, I think that it's really important that we keep in mind what the tenants from Fulton Elliott-Chelsea houses have asked for. I know that there's been a lot of focus tonight on those 3 bids that were put in for rehabilitation. All of those would privatize this housing stock. And unless things have changed, the tenants have gathered petitions and have made it clear that they don't want their homes to be privatized. So as folks are going out after tonight and taking action, I think it's important that you speak to the tenant leaders that are involved in the space, like Renee, like Celines, like Jackie, and make sure that you are asking for what they want and that you are supporting what directly impacted people are asking for. Because telling elected officials that we want rehabilitation is the equivalent of telling them that we want privatization. And the tenants have not said that that's what they want. So I just want to clarify that.
Yeah, no, very, very, very good point. And as Selena's also expressed, there is a no alternative, a no action alternative. And, you know, I think that we are very, very mindful that the distinction between Section 9 and Section 8 is vast, and that Section 8 is really privatization. So that's a very, very good point. All right, Gary, I see your hand up, and I don't mean to be rude, but we really need to wrap up. It's almost 9 p.m. So I will not call on you because I really, really hope that you're going to join us at the press conference on Tuesday. Please note my email address. Feel free to be in touch. LAYLADEMAY@gmail.com. LaylaDemay@gmail.com. We will put together an e-blast that will hopefully go out tonight with all the information that we talked about and the links and all the data so that you can have that. Saturday, meet with Len in front of Sullivan Street Bakery, 10 a.m. for leafletting through Penn South. And I think we have one last comment. Go ahead.
Yes, a couple things. One,
Forgive me, the Zoom people cannot hear him.
Great, thank you. So we'll be able to enjoy it, you know, in the sunlight until the sunlight is obliterated, which, once again, I want to leave you with a message of, hope. And on a positive note, let me say that, even a year ago, we were in a well of despair, and we've actually rallied. We've accomplished so much. Fighting this fight is entirely possible. And anyone who tells you otherwise probably says that because they want this thing to go through. So anyone who tells you it's a done deal, tell them that it is not, and be convinced of it. It is not a done deal. Please show up on the 23rd and on the 24th. Continue to be engaged. Saturday, listen to Leaps, listen to Len, listen to Lydia and Carol and Renee and
Luana,
Salinas and Jackie and Luana,
as well.
who has been, and Joanne. We are all playing our part. We are all relying on each other, and we need this group to expand. So, please join us, and together we can make a difference. All right, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much to all for joining.